Hey, 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 happy hump day. Come on in, pull up a chair. The Gaming Gang Dispatch is in the air. Howdy, 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 gang. Welcome once again to the Duct Tape Studios. I'm Jeff McAleer, your host, here at the Gaming Gang Dispatch, brought to you by thegaminggang.com, which I happen to be the Grand Poobah. Yes, I am the founder and editor-in-chief of thegaminggang.com. So welcome aboard. Tonight is Wednesday, November 17th, 2021. This is live stream 719. This is your first time joining me, let me point out. Super casual. Just hanging around talking about the latest in tabletop gaming news. And of course, taking a look at tabletop games. Every once in a while, I'll throw you a curveball and do a review live. I was going to say like I did last night, but it was really a Kickstarter preview, not really a review. But, of course, just kick back, relax, and enjoy. Tonight, I am going to be unboxing and taking a first look at Absolute War! Exclamation point. The Russian Front, 1941 to 1945. From my friends over at GMT Games. It's a pretty hefty game here as I bump the mic. I'm very interested to take a peek inside because it seems like this is a game that you could actually play the entire Eastern Front of World War II, or at least the Russian Front, in an evening or afternoon, maybe. So we're going to have to check this out. All right. Also do want to point out that if you like this video, by all means, please give it a quick thumbs up. Subscribe to the Gaming Gang channel if you haven't already. And if you do, ding that bell. Because it'll not only let you know when the Dispatch streams live, Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday evenings at 7 p.m. Central. It's also going to let you know when I upload other videos, such as my review of Twilight 2000, the 4th edition of Twilight 2000 from Free League Publishing. So that went live last night. So if you haven't checked it out, by all means, take a peek if you're interested in the system and if it's worth picking up. You'll have to watch. Also, do want to mention when you're not watching videos on the Gaming Gang channel, be sure to visit thegaminggang.com for all the latest in tabletop gaming news, reviews, and a whole lot more. Got a lot of RPG reviews that are going to be up in the next few days from my team of contributors. So stay tuned for that. And of course, if you don't visit the website, you don't get to check out those reviews. You miss out on some stuff. If you think it's only on the YouTube channel that you get the latest scoop, not the case. Of course, finally, do also want to point out that this is a live stream. So that means there's chat available. It's not on screen. It's one of the ways I keep some of the more unusual commenters at bay. But I do my best, actually, to pay attention to what's going on in chat. So if you want to say howdy, maybe you got a question, a comment, by all means, please chime in and I will do my best to respond. So far tonight, Disavowed 92 was first out the gate. We've got the Motor City Madman is with us. It's good to see the Madman. He is one of our chat moderators, so behave. Not that we ever have really any problems. John Vogel's with us too. So yes, John is pointing out it's Happy War Game Wednesday. It is. It is a War Game Wednesday today. So if you're tuning in and you're tuning in live because you want to check out Absolute War, let me point out, first we tackle the tabletop gaming news. It usually takes about 30 minutes. And I've got a couple of things I'm going to mention real quick. Not going to, pontificate on a lot. And then we're going to dive into Absolute War. So probably about 30 minutes. If you're watching after the fact and you don't want to check out the latest tabletop gaming news, although we do have some wargaming news, and you just want to jump ahead to Absolute War, after this stream ends, around 30 minutes or so after it ends, you will have timestamps so you can skip right ahead if you want to skip the tabletop gaming news. That said, let's dive into the tabletop gaming news, because arriving early next year from Rio Grande Games is Watch. Here's what I know. You've just started working at a Soviet watch factory that you've discovered used to be a World War II era munitions factory. You've been sent there to produce gears, which you can sell for money, but you also need those gears to disguise the munition crates you smuggle out. Dig through the files in the foreman's office to uncover evidence of government corruption during the aftermath of World War II. Use the monitoring infrastructure of the foreman's office to catch your co-workers, misbehaving and extract bribes from them. But be careful, because someone else might be watching you. Yes, you! The artistically composed thematic Eurogame Watch blends theme into the game mechanics masterfully. While playing, you can feel the clock ticking as you try to hide your mischievous actions from the other players. To succeed, you must ensure that the gears fall into their specific clockwork spot exactly when and where you need it. Watch is for 1 to 4 players, ages 14 and up, plays in around 45 to 60 minutes. It's going to carry an MSRP of $59.95 when it arrives in Q1 of 2022. Sounds kind of unusual. So you're sneaking munitions out of a watch factory, and why? Wondering why. Who are you trying to sneak those munitions to? I don't know. It's a Russian revolt. And looks like there's a lot to it as well. Although I am a little curious how you can hide your mischievous actions from the other players and still actually perform mischievous actions. That's what I'm kind of curious about. This is about 92 says, because Russia. Christopher Rush has joined us. Good to see you, Christopher. Omanal has popped in saying that should go to a Gulag archipelago and see if they can falsify quotas without dying. Ouch. So let's move on to a little bit of wargaming news, because there is a deluxe edition of Levy en Masse, which is designed by my pal John Welsh. It's up on crowdfunding. It's on Kickstarter for Worthington Games. And here's what I know. The Wars of the French Revolution, 1789 to 1802. This solitaire game, suitable for cooperative gameplay, tells the story of the French Revolution through its key events and decision points. You must stop the advances of foreign armies and the counter-revolutionary forces within France itself to defend the virtues of republicanism. Republicanism. I think that is. Yeah, it's republicanism. What the hell am I? Hey, I'm treating English like a second language again. Can you suppress the forces of monarchy and despotism to maintain, at least I pronounced despotism correctly. To maintain the Republican spirit in France, what effect will the rise of young Napoleon have on events? Can you export the revolution by liberating neighboring states and granting them their liberty? Will you be able to keep order in Paris as it suffers from riot after riot. Enlist today, grab your musket and a banner, and join the levy en masse. There is a short Kickstarter video. It is a typical Worthington Publishing Kickstarter video. So there's no voiceover or anything, and it's a lot of images of just historical things. But let's take a peek. Levy en masse Solitaire Deluxe Edition. That's what they're calling it. That just does not roll off the tongue. Is for one player, ages 13 and up, plays in around 30 to 45 minutes. This Kickstarter is well past its funding goal, and you can reserve a copy of the game, which also includes the expansion that had come out. It's just a small card expansion that came out from Victory Point Games back in the day when this first came out. So you can snag this and reserve a copy for a $59 pledge through December 4th. Expected delivery is next October. Gotta say, looks like it's pretty cool looking. I reviewed Levy en masse when I first, launched the gaming gang. I think Victory Point Games, VPG, was one of the first companies to jump on board and actually start sending review copies of stuff. And one of the reasons was we didn't hold, Elliot and I did not hold the fact that it was not the greatest component quality against the games because they had great gameplay. So there is that. Although I got to admit, I'm kind of surprised. Worthington never includes any of my reviews in their new upgraded editions or deluxe editions of Victory Point Games. They like this, that. They didn't use my written review. Just like, now it's Malta Besieged, which we'll have a news piece about next week because it is available for pre-order. It was originally that Scorpion of the Sea, Malta Besieged, and loved it. That was a big review for Victory Point Games back in the day. And no, wasn't that nobody they didn't use it for their Kickstarter. I'm like, all right, okay, all right. That's kind of weird because Worthington sends me review copies of stuff. I don't know why they don't use the reviews. All right, Indigo Dragon is with us, and Helga Ratbone has popped in again. So thank you very much for hanging out with us here in chat. Let's move on to some role-playing game news. Because up for crowdfunding for Alligator Alley Entertainment is Expedition from the Mysterious Peaks for 5th edition. Here's the scoop. Alligator Alley Entertainment, say that 5 times fast, presents its third project for its expanded 5e universe. Expedition from the Mysterious Peaks is an action-packed dual-genre adventure series inspired by an iconic adventure classic. Can anyone guess what it might be? It's powered by the 5th edition of the world's greatest role-playing game. Play as a legendary fantasy hero, a dauntless space explorer, or both. The adventure series can be played in multiple ways using standard 5e. You can play using the standard 5th edition core rules and supplements, including the free basic rules. You can use Espergenesis. You can play using the Alligator Alley Entertainment sci-fi rule system and setting for 5th edition. Or you can also use both rule sets. You can combine them to create a limitless number of character options and combinations. The adventure series can be played from start to finish, regardless of your choice of rules. Supplemental rule setting information and pre-gens are provided to allow play with either rule set. In Expedition from the Mysterious Peaks, the story unfolds from two different perspectives. One is a party of adventurers seeking to stop a cataclysmic magical threat. The other is as a team of intergalactic travelers that come across a generations-old distress beacon coming from the surface below. These beginning elements can be played individually or simultaneously, intertwining into a rich, versatile campaign. How these paths merge depend on the choices and actions of the players and the game master. Even after the adventure ends, the events open a wealth of plot threads and story ideas to create more adventures in Thalos, the Aldor system, or your own setting. There is a pretty cool Kickstarter video. It's about 2.5 minutes long, but between 2 and 2.5 minutes, from Alligator Alley Entertainment. So let's take a look.
Long ago, on a planet orbiting a distant star, a colony starship fell from the sky, hurtling into the mountainous region known to the natives as the Barriers. Dangers lurked within the malfunctioning wreckage, threatening the lives of the nearby populace until destroyed by a band of local heroes. Generations passed and the ship's wreckage remained dormant until now. A distress beacon has been activated from an unexplored section of the ruined ship, its dire transmission discovered by a small crew of galactic explorers. Can the crew find the beacon in time and save the planet from imminent destruction?
This Kickstarter is past the 150% funding mark. You can reserve a copy of the hardcover of Expedition from the Mysterious Peaks for a $50 pledge, or score the PDF alone for a $25 pledge through December 9th. Expected delivery on the PDF is next May, and the hardcover will follow in June. I had to chuckle because the voiceover person, I almost said voiceover artist, but I have no idea, who's doing the voiceover. The young woman, sounds like a young woman, mentions that the mountains are called the Barrier. I'm sure it's not the Barrier Peaks. So Christopher said that they're going to judge that video hard after the previous video. So Indigo Dragon mentions that they're glad to see Alligator Alley Entertainment expanding their space setting. I'm going to probably reach out to them to see if they'd like to see some video coverage of some of their releases, because they've got some stuff out for different games. They don't only do Esper Genesis. They've got some other stuff as well. So the Madman says they've mentioned it before, but they would show players pics of the alien weapons. They had to determine which way to point them. Had more than one paralyzed character. Yes. That is a classic adventure. That really is. And the thing I laugh about is that there are people who just do not want science fiction in their fantasy, and they don't want fantasy in their science fiction. Sort of like, you got peanut butter in my chocolate. You got chocolate in my peanut butter. And then they stab each other as opposed to enjoying the two tastes together. But yes, Expedition to the Barrier Peaks is a classic D&D adventure. And if you're not overly familiar with it, it also had the kind of handouts that you were to give your players and with the different images. So I remember that very, very well. So very cool. So Christopher says, seriously, though, this looks really cool. They're going to check it out. Yeah, I kind of got a kick out of it. It's like, yes, engage in space battles. And it's like, yes, D&D meets Star Wars. Moving right along. There is a new bundle of holding that's arrived featuring the Tribe 8 role-playing game from DreamPod 9. Here's a skinny. Weaver, attend. We've resurrected our August 2016 Tribe 8 bundle featuring the tabletop fantasy role-playing game, you guessed it, Tribe 8 from DreamPod 9. When demonic Zibri horrors enslave humanity, the Earth Goddess manifests magical avatars called Fatimas to overthrow the demons. But life under the Fatimas is no utopia either. Tribe 8 player characters are the fallen, outcasts from the 7 Fatima tribes, determined to build from the world's ashes an 8th tribe and a new society. The past is dead. Your future begins now. This bargain price offer once again gives you everything you need for a complete campaign in this unique post-apocalyptic fantasy setting. And 8 of these titles are beautiful new electronic editions. For just $9.95, you get all 3 titles in this revived offers starter collection, which have a retail value of $40, as DRM-free PDFs. The first edition player's handbook, read that first, plus the 1998 Tribe 8 first edition rulebook and the Tribe 8 Weaver screen and assistant that launches the extensive T8 metaplot. You'll also get the Tribe 8 companion, The Horrors of the Zabiri, Book of Adversaries, and the magic source book Adrift on the River of Dream. And if you pay more than the threshold price of $23.04, you'll level up and also get this Revival's entire bonus collection with 10 more titles worth an additional $59. The major books in the T8 story are Children of the Prophecy and Conquest, Children of Lilith, Trial by Fire, Into the Outlands, Broken Pact, Word from the North, and Warrior Unbound. There's also the Vimari source book, the acclaimed course setting book, one of the best regarded supplements in the T8 line or anywhere. All of the Word Tribe books, Word of the Pillars, Word of the Fates, and Word of the Dancers, the guides to playing or opposing the 7 tribes of the Fatimas. These savings run through December 1st, and 10% of your payment after gateway fees will be donated to this offer's pandemic-related charity, Direct Relief. Know nothing about this. Absolutely nothing about this role-play game. I can tell you there's a second edition of it. So I was tracking down images to share with you of some of the titles that are part of this bundle and ran across there's a second edition. So I guess they don't have a ton out for it, maybe. Indigo Dragon says Tribe 8 is one of the best RPGs made and one of the very few that did metaplot right. Yeah, meta plot's tough. And it can start off really, really cool, and then the bottom falls out. Torg is a great example of a role playing game back in the day. I'm not talking about Torg Eternity, the newer edition that came out from Ulysses Spiel. Talking about the old West End Games Torg. Super cool concept. Meta plot started out really exciting, and then it just went all over the place. Okay, and like one of the big bads suddenly became like comic relief, and oh my gosh. So Christopher says that they've heard that this is a really good RPG. They've never had an opportunity to play it. And Indigo Dragon points out, yes, it is truly good. Well, if you have any curiosity about this, now's the time to strike while the iron's hot. Although, like I said, it is the first edition, not the newer second edition. So let's wrap up with my final news piece. Now available in PDF from Cubicle 7 Entertainment is the Doctor Who second edition starter set. Here's the deets. Step into the TARDIS and embark on a brand new adventure. Doctor Who, the role-playing game starter set, contains everything you need to start your adventures across all of space and time. Whether you're a complete beginner at role-playing games or looking for an epic new campaign, this box set is the perfect starting point for anyone wanting to experience the vast universe of Doctor Who. The Timeless Library is a brand new adventure for players of all experience levels. It sends a group of new and varied companions on a journey to a vast library filled with a dangerous artifact and even more dangerous invaders. The story continues in the epic campaign, The Echo Chamber, and a quest to recover the Hermit's Lantern, providing new and established characters a wealth of adventure that will take them to surprising new worlds. The Doctor Who, the role-playing game starter set includes Read This First, which is introduction sheet, 5 ready-made characters, Timeless Library Adventure Book, the Echo Chamber Campaign Book, 2 rules reference sheets, 60 story point tokens, and more. You can get the 112-page PDF right now over at Drive-Thru RPG for $14.99. Sweet. Because, yes, we have the new second edition of Doctor Who, the role-playing game, which, when it first came out, was called Doctor Who Adventures in Time and Space. So, and then they changed it to Doctor Who, the role-playing game, but it was still the same edition of the game. And now we've got the second edition. And I'm kind of curious. I have the PDF. I've got the PDF for this. I have the PDF for the second edition, which, if I remember correctly, I think Sammy's working on the review. I've got a few new releases that were sent along to me to get reviewed. So my trio of correspondence will have some fresh RPG action to check out. But yeah, for the family and for people who really dig Doctor Who, this is a solid role-playing game. And it's super easy to get into. It's not crunchy at all. All right. I was just talking about Drive-Thru RPG. Don't forget, the Gaming Gang, thus the Dispatch, is affiliated with the One Bookshelf sites. So if you are going to go visit, say, Drive-Thru RPG or Dungeon Master's Guide, why did I say Dungeon Master's Guide? It's Dungeon Master's Guild. So if you're going to go visit the book behind me, be sure to stop by thegaminggang.com first before you go see that book. Anywho, if you are going to go visit any of the One Bookshelf sites, by all means, stop by thegaminggang.com first. Click on one of our banner ads. That way, if you happen to make a purchase, I get a little portion of that sale. All those nickels, dimes, and quarters really do add up and help keep thegaminggang.com around. That is it for the news. So Christopher Rush says, The Echo Chamber. Wow. What an ironic title. But Christopher also points out that they enjoy the Doctor Who game a lot. So there you go. I say it time and time. The Doctor's source books are just fantastic. They really are. You don't even have to be interested in role playing games to enjoy the Doctor Who source books, which now they've got, what, a dozen? Got a dozen of them. So, yes, definitely. In fact, I don't think it's floating around behind me, but I have the Tom Baker one because the rest I've got in PDF, but I have the physical book for the Tom Baker Doctor source because he's my doctor, right? That's who I grew up with. When I was first introduced to the show, he was the Doctor. So I say it all the time. When he regenerated into the fifth Doctor, I was at Elliot's house, and Doctor Who used to be on later at night on a Sunday. So God forbid it was like a longer episode. So because here in the States, they would combine episodes together. So you might have an hour of Doctor Who. You might have an hour and a half, hour and 45 minutes of Doctor Who. And he fell from that, was it like radio tower or something like that? And started to change into Peter Davidson. We were like, what the hell's going on? Because we never, we didn't watch the show earlier to know that doctors regenerate, or, they did that Gallifreyans regenerated. So it was kind of funny. So there were a couple of things I want to talk about real quick before we jump into Absolute War, the Russian Front, 1941 to 45. First of all, I made my reservations for Philadelphia and Pax Unplugged. So I am going to go check out Pax Unplugged this year, December 10th through the 12th. And I've never been, I've driven through Philadelphia. I've never stayed in Philadelphia. So I am kind of curious about that. And I'm staying I think it's like a 12-minute walk to the convention center. So I am downtown. I think I am not that far from like the Liberty Bell and things like that. So kind of cool. Looking forward to it. I have absolutely no idea what I'm going to do if people want to give me review copies of stuff. How am I going to get it back? Because I'm not driving. I can't put that kind of mileage on my old car all in one shot because it's like a 12-hour drive to Philly from here. So, yes. So there's some discussion about the various different doctors. So Indigo Dragon says David Tennant is their favorite doctor. I like David Tennant as the doctor. Christopher Rush is pointing out that John Pertwee was awesome. Correct. I agree with you. All of them have been good. There isn't anybody. Well, okay. I know a lot of people really don't like Colin Baker, but I don't think it was his fault. Really, it was they didn't know what was going on. There was talk that they were going to cancel the show and all these other things. So I think Colin Baker gets a raw deal, and he seems like a pretty nice guy, but he's probably most people's least favorite doctors. But so the Madman says the only experience with Philadelphia was passing through on the way to boot camp. Not exactly an enjoyable experience. No, probably not. Mr. Eddie T has joined us in chat. That means that Sarah D is probably floating around watching as well. Howdy, howdy. All right, so the other thing I wanted to mention real quick was that I am going to do my OSR, right? Starting January 1st. We're going to do old school for the new year. And I've got some stuff cooking. So we are going to be taking a look at some stuff from Castles and Crusades. We're going to take a look at some stuff from Adventure Conqueror King, Old School Essentials. We're going to get to take a look at the classic tome. And we're going to do some interviews as well. Mothership. I picked up Mothership myself, so we're going to take a look at that. Ultraviolet Grasslands. I also snagged a copy of. So we're going to be taking a look at quite a few different things. I'm still working on different companies. But part of the problem is a lot of these companies don't even have websites. They don't even have Twitter accounts. And it's sort of like, It's like, come on, you can't afford $30 a year? Go get yourself some GoDaddy hosting and a domain name and, just throw together a WordPress website? Or use Wix or Squarespace or any of those? By the way, we're now sponsored by Squarespace. No, we're not. So yes, OSR. Also, I have been talking with Gavin, I believe his last name's Norman off the top of my head, from Necrotic Gnome, who does Old School Essentials. I'm going to do an interview there. He's probably going to send along some PDFs of some stuff. So that means my contributors will be able to get those. So I'm going to make sure that all my contributors also have PDF copies of OSE so that they have that reference available to them. I don't expect go get your BX. Go get your BX to do that. So there you go. So Mr. Eddie T says some of these companies are just single men writing their fantasies. This is not Penthouse Forum we're talking about, Eddie. Mind out of the gutter. All right, I'm not going to really go into a whole lot of detail, but I had a buddy from high school, and it wasn't when he was in high school. This was afterwards. Had a letter printed in Penthouse Forum, and he just made the whole thing up, like everybody else had in the letters to Penthouse Forum. But it was actually pretty funny. It was pretty funny. Had to do with watermelon. Alrighty, so I just wanted to say that we've got some stuff cooking for Old School for the new year. And I am, there's other stuff that I would include, like Astonishing Swordsmen and Sorcerers of Hyperborea, which is now going to be just called Hyperborea, 3rd edition, but it's not going to be out. So here you go. Indigo Dragon just mentioned that. I wasn't looking at chat. Says, got to look at Hyperborea 3E when it comes out. I backed it because I had one of our viewers was very interested in having my take on it. And they actually made a donation. They went over to paypal.me/thegaminggang and effectively donated enough for me to get the whole bundle that was up on Kickstarter. I was like, holy cow. I was like, sweet. But it's not going to be ready. So we're hoping maybe to see PDFs next month. But I know the gentleman's name is Jeffrey. I think it's Talbot or Tibbetts has already pointed out that the physical books are not going to be here this year. And now they're thinking it's probably not going to be until spring. So Mr. Eddie T said they meant that they're just small one-man operations. Oh, I know what you meant. But still, even as a one-man operation, I don't know. I do a lot of the stuff here, right? Though there are other people who contribute to the gaming gang. Don't get me wrong. But I mean, I make sure that I've got a website. So, yeah, it's just kind of weird. Okay, also on Monday, we're going to be taking a first look at Brian Burrow, which is from Osprey Games, This is kind of a medium weight Euro game, and you are vying to become the High King of Ireland. Yes. So we're going to take a look at that on Monday. All right. So without further ado, as Mr. Eddie T says, yeah, good point, Jeff. This is how I look at it. And I'm not going to, go into a great bunch of detail. But in my opinion, if you want to be taken seriously as a game company, you have to have a website. I don't care if you're selling artwork, if you're writing adventures, things like that. If you're planning on selling something, you got to have a website. Even if it's just something you threw together on WordPress. A lot of people don't realize, I think last count, what is it? 40% of websites out there run on WordPress. I'll be the first one to point out thegaminggang.com is a WordPress site. So a lot of websites you go and visit for your news and entertainment and things like that, they run on WordPress. They're not blogs. A lot of people think it's just, oh, well, yeah, WordPress is for blogs. And it's not that difficult to figure out how to use. And there's, pre-made themes you just put together. A lot of them are free. So when I hear people say, well, we can't really afford to put together a website. It's like, you got $30. You can put together a website. You can go to GoDaddy, get some super cheap $3 a month hosting. I mean, come on. I don't know. I just like when I get stuff, I'll get things from companies that want to kickstart stuff. Hey, here's our Kickstarter. Then I go look and it's like their website is Facebook. It's like, well, I'm not sorry. Sorry, if you're expecting to pull in $20,000 on your Kickstarter, you should have had a website because website like a Facebook page just doesn't cut it. Omanal says it makes a huge difference to have a website to see what it's about. Even restaurants with menus. Yeah, exactly. I know. But it is not difficult to put together a website. It's difficult to put together a website that looks different than everybody else's. Yeah. But it's not difficult to put together a game website at all. Most of the game websites you go to, I guarantee you, game company websites run on WordPress. Okay, without further ado, we're jumping on into Absolute War, the Russian Front, 1941-45, from GMT Games. It's designed by Carol. What is wrong with me tonight? I don't know. And I'm sober. I'm always sober. It's not like I'm drunk. Designed by some guy who designed the game. He's the designer. See, the thing is, I stumbled over this because I'm not sure how to pronounce his last name. I don't think it's Carl Paradise, and I don't think it's Paradis. I think it's Paradis, but I'm not positive. As Indigo Dragon points out, war never changes. War never changes. Artwork is provided by Charles Kibler, Ilana Kitrasov, and Carl Paradis, or Paradis, or Paradise. I'll just say it's Carl P. Game is for 2 players, ages 14 and up, plays in around 1 to 4 hours or 2 to 8 hours. And I'll explain why in just a moment. It does carry an MSRP of $59. It is available right now. So Chris is rocking out. Good to see you, Chris. Enjoy the rest of your week. Have a great weekend. Hopefully we get to see you next week. Without further ado, we're going to swing on over to the other camera. Because here I've got Absolute War, the Russian Front, 1941-45. So here's the deal as far as, so what's the gameplay time? Because on the GMT website, it says that the game, because there's different scenarios, you can play a scenario in an hour. You can play the full campaign in 3 to 4 hours. Gamebox says it's 2 to 8 hours. So I don't know. Who do I believe? Do I believe GMT Games or do I believe GMT Games? I don't know. I would take a stab in the dark that it really is 1 to 4 hours. Let's take a look at the back here. Absolute War, the Russian Front, 1941 to 44. So there's a bit of a misprint because the title is actually the Russian Front, 1941 to 45. Recreates the titanic struggle between the invading armies of Nazi Germany versus the Soviet Union in a fresh new way. The design emphasis has been placed on making the game experience player friendly so you can concentrate on enjoying the experience and exercising your skills against your opponent. The scope, ease of play, low counter density, and reasonable playing times make this game perfect for both veteran players and newcomers. Each side has their own event deck. These cards are the crux of the game system, like in No Retreat, which is another game designed by Carl Paradis. They're used to generate events and special game abilities, major offensives, partisan raids, siege artillery, increased replacements, etc. And now are also effortlessly resolve all battle outcomes. There are no combat result tables and no dice. This combat system offers more variety than traditional designs. Using a simple yet effective economic model, players will also feel the growing might and sophistication of the Soviet Red Army and the degradation of the once invincible German Wehrmacht over the 4 years that this epic campaign was fought. So it talks about there's 5 different campaigns, and I believe there were some changes that were made or some additional material that was included that actually brings the game through 1945. And it just looks like they did not update the information on the back of the box. So Indigo Dragon says, I'll take the third option of GMT Games, please. Let's open this up. Like I said, this has some heft to it. And $59 for a war game, that's a pretty nice price. So we got a rules of play. Hey, we got a playbook. Look at that. I love me my GMT playbooks. Let's take a look at the rules of play first. I think, if I remember right, I think this artwork here is a propaganda poster. I don't think that's original art. I think that is propaganda poster. And they're going to have to do something about this right here because that's a swastika. So if they want to sell this in Germany, they're going to have to use a little whiteout on those rule books there. So using these rules, we've got our introduction, components, special map sites, the playing pieces. We have player aid cards. So talking about combat strength, looks like we got little burst icons showing the combat strength of the units here. That's kind of interesting. Talking about key game concepts, war initiative, war status points, stacks. Stack may contain any combination of the following: 1 or 2 leg or mobile units, up to 1 air unit, and up to 1 fort. The order of units and stacks is important in this game. Okay. And then we get into some specific rules. I think there's supposed to be a basic game, and then I think like the standard game. So I think there's kind of a learning game or a slimmed down game, and then there's the full-fledged game. So here's our sequence of play. New turn housekeeping. We got the German player turn and the Soviet player turn. And we have supply phase, combat marker phase, card phase, strategic phase, movement phase, combat phase, reserve phase, used marker phase, and objective phase. And each of the players' turns are identical. And then we have the end of the turn. So we have an event phase. So each game turn has an event listed at the bottom of each turn box on the turn track, which is repeated on the game event's play aid card. So we got combat markers. Talking about the combat marker phase, the card phase, strategic phase, movement phase, combat phase. If I remember right, looking at the back of the box, I think this showed a 4 as far as complexity. And I say it constantly, GMT softballs their complexity ratings. So I would say, in my opinion, taking a look at this, to me, this seems closer to probably a 6. Because what do we got? About 30 pages of rules? So is this the combat phase? Oh, yep. So that's combat there. Reserve phase, use the marker phase, and the objective phase. How to win. Instant victory. There are 3 ways for a player to instantly win the game at the end of a game turn. War status points. If the German player has the initiative and at least 19 war status points, his opponent has 0 war status points, and the German player controls at least 2 of his opponent's war aim sites, including Moscow, he wins. Soviet player has the initiative and at least 19, I guess it's the same thing, and also control Königsberg, they win. If a player controls at least 4 of his opponent's 6 war aim sites, they win. That's for either player. And the Soviet player wins if they take control of Berlin. Yeah, and then we got an optional victory condition there as well. Special units, special markers, event listings. Kind of give you an idea of some of the events. Pearl Harbor, Lend-Lease, German Industry, Operation Husky, Hitler's Directive, Battle of the Bulge, special card events. We got some advanced game rules here. And we've got some solitaire game rules. It looked from the back that the solitaire suitability was relatively high. And then we've got our war objectives map aid here. So those are the rules of play. What did we end up with? 29. Yep, 29 rules. Pages of rules. So, like I said, I don't know if it's like a 4 on the complexity level. Now let's take a look at the playbook. And I always talk about how I love the GMT playbooks. I'll read this first, and then I'll read the rule book. It's always how I do it, because it gives me a better feel for not only usually there's an extended example of play, but it also kind of gives me an idea of what is the crux of the game, what is the objective of the designer, and get a better feel for how to play the game through that as well. All right, so we got the campaign game. So talking about setting up the campaign game. Different scenarios. So we've got Operation Barbarossa. Where's the next one? Okay, so that's scenario A. It jumps to C. Okay. I suppose. Kursk. Yeah, so am I missing D or B somewhere? Am I just cracking up? Because here's A. Oh, there it is. Case Blue. Right underneath. Duh. See, we've got Stalingrad. So this is a mini game. Here's our extended example of play. So we can see this is card driven as well. So like I said, you'll learn a lot just by reading through the playbook, because here we've got a nice, long, detailed example of play. When I first picked up Twilight Struggle, that is exactly how I learned how to play it, by reading the playbook and then going to the rule book. So we've got our designer notes here, Soviet player notes, and German player notes, and historical notes, and dedications. And here we have the basic game rules, just a few pages here. So this is another great way for you to learn how to play. Although this looks more like just kind of a reference. Yeah, I would say, because everything's kind of packed in here. Couple of player aids. So we have the Global War events. Quick reference sheet for war initiative, supply, movement, combat values, pincers and pockets, event cards, resource point cost, stacking, combat support, and war status points. So you got a copy for each of the players there. We have a couple of battle results tables and assault results tables, special unit features, combat sequence, terrain effects chart, chart definitions, as well as our sequence of play. And of course, got a copy for each of the players there as well. And we've got a couple of counter sheets. I'm actually going to just lift this up to give you a better look, because we've got the game board coming out here. So I don't want to zoom in and then be messing around zooming out. So there we go. Dual-sided, of course. I'm curious if this has, if these are like have step reduction. Doesn't look like it. Oh, maybe. Okay, so this one has 4, and then it's down to 3. So I guess, yeah, I guess this does have step reduction on the units. And then it looks like we've got some informational unit tokens here as well. Huh. So there's actually war atrocities, I'm guessing, because this counter says atrocity on it. Interesting. I can tell you right now, just from what we're looking at here, this is not your typical hex and counter sort of war game. Here are our 2 decks of cards. We'll zoom in and get a better look at those. Got our mounted board. I know people get tired of me saying this, but I'll say it again. When you're taking a mounted board outside of a bag, and this is an example right here, always be careful, because it's so easy to catch an edge on that little closure on the plastic bag and tear that apart. All right, so I'll tell you what, this board looks pretty large. So we're going to take a peek. Okay, I guess it's long, it's tall. It's long, tall Sally. So what we'll do here is I'll unfold it so you can get a look at what the board looks like here. So we have shattered German and Axis units, destroyed German and Axis units, captured German and Axis units. Same for the Soviets. We've got combat points. We've got war status points. So these are for the Germans, for the Soviets here. Then we've got our board, our map. And I understand that these locations here are objectives. And I guess the objective points probably change based on the scenario. There we go. And then, because I don't want to hit the tripod with the camera sitting on it, this is the bottom portion here. So Germany, Czechoslovakia, Austria, Hungary, Yugoslavia, and we also have partisans as well as the Urals and Siberia. Cool. Nice board. That's got a little bit of visual pop to it as well. I like that. Okay, so we're going to take a look at the 2 decks of cards. So here I see the title of the game has changed on the cards. Yeah, so some people tend to take GMT games out to the web, out to the woodshed from time to time, because sometimes their quality control is not the greatest. And there are times that we see games get released, not too often. It's very rarely, actually, with weird typos and things like that. So here we have Absolute War, Attack on Russia, 1941 to 45. The game is Absolute War, the Russian Front, 1941-45. All right, let's look at the German deck first. And remember, all of our combat resolution is in the deck. So we're just going to take a look at some of these real quick. Okay, so it looks like we've got some different generals here. Production crunch, extreme weather, fickle climate, experienced officers, counterblow, blitzkrieg, and it says what phase you have to play this in. So blitzkrieg's played during your movement phase. Roving pocket, any reserve phase. Pacification campaign in your strategic phase. I'm going to take a guess. This is possibly our combat resolution down here. I do notice we have little blasts here on the side of the card. So I've seen 1 or 2. Stalin's meddling, heavy ordnance, manpower shortage, operational moves, fortified lines, Panzer Blitz. So were they taking the old Avalon Hill game out and playing it? Is that what that card represents? Hedgehog positions. So just kind of zip through here. And we have artwork on each of the cards as well. Not sure what those are along the side, the numbers. Maybe those are the years that you can play this card. That's a possibility. So 42, 43, 44, 45. No retreat. I bet you that's That's what that is. Citadel, War Economy, Case Blue, Northern Lights, Last Ditch Offensive. Hitler orders attack, Hitler's war with Charlie Chaplin and the Great Dictator. That's what that is. That's pretty wild. Because the funny thing is, I'm like, well, wait a second. Are they not including like images of Hitler? It's like, yeah, they are. But there's Chaplin. Indigo Dragon says, game looks good. Looks interesting. I'll tell you that much. It's not just your typical, yeah, we're looking at one of those. And not that I'm knocking them. It's just, I just don't play many just straight up hex and counter war games anymore. They're just, nothing to me screams boring than the usual, attack factor, defense factor, movement factor. That's it. With the NATO iconography on the counters and that. This is not that case. Fresh troops, prepared defenses, raiding cavalry, scorched earth, for the motherland, heavy tanks, show no mercy, mobilization plans, infiltration assaults, Friedrich Fromm, River Bridgehead, flying tanks, victory or death. So what do you think? Are we going to see the Night Witches? I doubt it. But that would kind of be interesting if we had a card with the Night Witches on it. Not a step back. Soviet Steamroller. Heroes of the USSR. Hitler intervenes. Mass Artillery. Great Patriotic War. Well, it says play immediately. Look at that. If you hold 9 or more war aim sites, you win the game. If you play it immediately. Strategic reserves, 5-year plan, partisan offensive, indecisive fiera, Nazi realpolitik, Lend-Lease aid, Soviet tenacity, Zhukov, Second Front, Allied bombings, Stalin's organs, there we go. Cool. Absolute war. Where's the explanation? Where's the exclamation point? English, like a second language. Yes. Russian winter. Stalin's war. I believe the scale with this, I think every turn is supposed to be 2 months, I believe. So those are the decks here. So that's the Soviets. And that is the Germans, or the Axis. So we've got an insert with the same artwork from the box cover. Once again, no dice are used in this game. Got the cool looking game board. That's pretty long board. We've got a couple of punch boards with our counters, with our units, as well as informational counters and tokens. Got a couple of battle results tables, and I believe we've got the sequence of play on the other side. We've got another player aid, the basic game rules. We've got the playbook, which we already saw has an extensive example of play. And then we got the rules of play. And that's what we find when we take everything from Absolute War, the Russian Front, 1941 to 45, from GMT Games, outside the box. This looks really interesting. It really does. And this also looks like a war game that I could teach my nephew Cameron, as opposed to, there's some where it's like, oh, there's absolutely no way. He's never going to have the patience for that. This looks pretty cool. I mean, he likes 1960 and he likes Twilight Struggle. Neither are war games, but they are card driven, so he digs card driven stuff. This could be pretty wild. So hopefully I will have a review of this in the relatively near future. Let's swing on over to the other camera because that is it for tonight's show. That's it for the week. Something else I wanted to mention before I wrap up. I'm always playing around with like the exposure and things like that. I know a lot of people don't like it real bright, but then past few shows, when I look in camera and in software, it's not as dark as what it ends up. So it's like, so I'm always playing around with it. I guess this looks okay. But to me, this almost looks a little washed out. Not that not that I have a tan or anything like that. I don't. All righty. That is it for this time out. Remember, on Monday, we're going to be taking a look at Brian Boru from Osprey Games. Once again, this is kind of a medium weight Euro game, but you're competing to be High King of Ireland. So that will be a Monday's show. The rest of the week, I don't know. We'll probably mix a little, probably do a review, maybe 2 reviews. I don't know. We'll see. But at least that's what's coming up on Monday. The Madman says, looking forward to my review for Absolute War. It's probably going to be a while out, unfortunately. So, as I mentioned, that's it for tonight's show. Those of you out there who are watching live, thank you very much. Always appreciate that. Seriously, I mean, some people think, yeah, he's just saying it. No, I really do. Really appreciate people tuning in, hanging out. I appreciate you subscribing to the channel as well. But especially people who hang out and chat, even if they just say hi. It's like, yay, very cool. So, of course, if you like this video, don't forget, give it a quick thumbs up. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. And if you do subscribe, ding that bell, because it'll not only let you know when the Dispatch streams live Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday evenings at 7 p.m. Central right here on YouTube. Also let you know when I upload other videos, such as my upcoming review of, ta-da, the latest adventure in the Horizons of the Vast adventure path from Paizo Inc. for Starfinder. Yes, that's right. It is Whispers of the Eclipse. For some reason, I was zoning on the Eclipse. I almost said Whispers of the Echo. That's why I was like, wait a second. I got to take a look. It's like, wait, hang on. So, yeah, I know I was supposed to do this last weekend, but I had to help my brother out with that comic book show up in Milwaukee last weekend. All righty. So, thanks for watching. Thanks for hanging out. Of course, if you don't have an opportunity to watch live, and I know a lot of people don't, thank you as well. Maybe you're watching on Memorex. I don't know, but I certainly do appreciate each and every one of you who stops by and checks out any of these videos. Everybody enjoy the rest of your week. Have a great weekend. And of course, till I see you again, which will hopefully be next Monday, here's hoping each and every one of you get to enjoy plenty of great gaming with your gang. Yes, of course, I go to do the outro and start typing my, hey, thanks everybody for watching. And it just starts jumping all over the place with my software. So thanks, everybody. See you Monday. Oh, you're still here. Well, while you're kicking it, how about subscribing to the Gaming Gang channel? Or seeing the latest episode of the Gaming Gang Dispatch? Or finding out what YouTube recommends you check out here at my channel? And of course, don't forget, get your geek on at thegaminggang.com.